Good afternoon. It is 3 o'clock and it is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, and this is a special meeting of the Jefferson Public Utility District Board of Commissioners. My name is Jeff Randall. I'm president of the board and I'm calling this meeting to order. Jefferson PUD will be offering both virtual online meetings as well as in-person meetings unless advance notice is provided. Online participant audio will be muted upon entry. Please unmute at the appropriate time to speak. And if you are calling in, use *6 to mute and unmute and *9 to raise a hand to request to speak. So let's do a roll call of commissioners. My name is Jeff Randall, Commissioner for District 1 and President of the Board.
Dan Tupper, Commissioner for District 3.
Alex Collins, Commissioner District 2.
They're all present and accounted for. So this agenda, we have just one item, the presentation by Foster Pepper RUS RSP Loan Fund Loan Bond. Is there any changes to the agenda needed?
No. I'll make the motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All three of us said aye. Okay, we're all good. So, Kevin, or Will, or whoever.
So, this program we applied for approximately 3 years ago, maybe a pinch over, through our US system. This is a program where we get the money from RUS at 0 rate interest, and then the board puts together a program that we loan this money out to our customers for usage in energy savings programs. So great program, took us a long time to get here. Stacy kind of finished up the job. We've been working out for a long time. We appreciate it. So jump in. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we could go through, because I can see that we've got different parts of this. We've got the actual program we have to set up. We've got all these different agreements, and we've got bond counsel here to hopefully talk about what do they mean, what are our obligations, how do they work. I read through the documents, they're incredibly detailed. So I guess if we could kind of hit the highlights and what's important for us to understand what'll be new. And I see both Joel and Dan have their hands up. Okay, Joel, you go first.
Thanks, commissioners. I just wanted to take a minute to reintroduce Stacy Amasaki, who is our bond counsel from Foster Garvey. She took the place of her retired colleague, and she's been a great help and service to us. So Stacy's really taken the lead in working with RUS and RUS Office of General Counsel on the form of the loan, which you'll recall because of certain laws in Washington State, we have to treat it as a bond purchase agreement, and Stacy can tell us everything about that and how it fits in with our current, bonds with RUS, et cetera. In terms of the underlying program, I think, staff, Kevin and his group, I'm happy to discuss it as well, can talk to you about the details of the RES program itself.
Okay, Dan?
Yeah, just for clarification, on the agenda, it said Foster Pepper. Is that an error, or is that correct? Is it Foster Garvey and Foster Pepper, or?
So we used to be, we used to be Foster Pepper, and then 5 years ago we merged, and so we are Foster Garvey. So yeah, it is Foster Garvey. Same people though.
Thanks for the clarification.
The important thing for us is that Foster Pepper was our bond counsel, and all those folks remain our bond counsel. So.
Great. Well, Stacy, maybe you can hit some highlights for us and what entering into this agreement means for Jefferson PUD moving ahead.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. Again, in your packets, there are a bunch of documents. So there is the form of the RESP note, the bond resolution, and then bond purchase contract. So the form of the bond and then the bond purchase contract are exhibits to the bond resolution. And the bond resolution is the official action that the board needs to take in order for the district to enter into this not to exceed $5 million electric system revenue bond with RUS, so the U.S. Department of Agriculture Rural Utilities Service, which will be in the form of this RUS Electric RESP note. So a lot of acronyms. In order to, as Kevin said, provide funds to loan to qualified customers for the purpose of implementing energy efficiency measures. So the bond resolution describes the terms and covenants of the bond, some of which are described in more detail or reference the form of the bond or the bond purchase contract, and includes the ability to make advances or draws on the bond for any of these energy efficiency measures for certain customers. And again, as mentioned before, shall bear interest at the rate of 0%. The resolution also creates the bond account, which will be used to pay the principal and interest of the bond. And then there is no reserve account needed for this program. The bond is secured by net revenue of the district and will be on a parity lien with the district's outstanding bonds. So the electric system revenue bond from 2013 and then the electric system revenue bond from 2023. And that one was in the form of a Treasury Direct note. So all these are with RUS and they have various different programs, but ultimately they kind of dictate the form of the document. So the actual bond, in our case, it's going to be in this case, it would be the RUS Electric RESP note. Last year, it was the Treasury Direct note or Treasury Direct bond. And again, because this new bond would be on a parity with your outstanding bonds, the flow of funds for the revenue of the system, so that would be section 11, along with the covenants listed in section 13 of this bond resolution, are almost identical to what the district entered into for your previous bond issues. So again, usually, again, things that you are aware, the district has been aware of, has been complying with in the past, it just continues for this new bond issue.
So I have a few questions. One of the things I pulled out of this is that when we make loans to our customers it can be for no more than 10 years, and we can charge an interest rate, but not to exceed 5%. So I got that out of it. There's mention on page 12, section 4C about an annual loan fee that we'll pay to RUS. I kind of wondered what that amounts to, or because it's a zero interest loan, but it talks about a loan fee. So is anybody able to look that one up and answer that?
I can't answer that.
So it was on page 12,
Loan fees, item C,
section 4C.
because the district shall pay an annual loan servicing fee as set forth in the bond. There's no obligation.
So I didn't know if that's every year we're going to pay that or just the first year.
Annual.
Yeah. Or do we know?
All right, I do think that is referenced. You can continue with your question, but I do think I can find it. I just need 1 second.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
did think they said that there is no fee, but I want to confirm that that's actually in the document.
Maybe boilerplate, but actually result in a zero for us.
I do think that's true, but let me try to find where I read that.
Okay. And I guess for staff, while she's looking that one up, there also talks about an annual report of funded energy efficiency measures. So it's almost like we have to document every year, how was the money used? What did it go for? And also wondering, so these things that are going to happen, who's going to do it and how's that going to work? Are we going to hire new staff?
Yeah,
or-
that was one of the questions I have. Do we have a process or internal policy and process document as to who's responsible?
Mhm.
That was one of the questions I had as well.
And maybe this is such an advanced program that, RUS will have helpful instructions for whoever gets assigned to do this, but just kind of wondering how we're going to do it.
We will put a new staff person on, not only to help this, but to help with some of the Washington State grants we've gotten for the same type of program. In this particular instance, of the 5 million, we're allowed 100,000 for staffing, startup and stuff like that. So that's how this person will be paid.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other programs. Gene, do you want to jump in real quick? we're kind of getting off topic, but
It's okay. They overlap.
Like 30,000 foot level other programs, that Commerce has the, home energy efficiency grants coming out that will cover wiring, electrical panel upgrades, for businesses. It'll cover some stuff too. So we're gonna merge that together. And then the tracking, we're already putting those tracking measures in place. I am for our CETA reporting, our 120 reporting, because all of these energy efficiency measures go towards long-term burden reduction. And so we track and report on that. That is existing.
Okay, well, so that's interesting. You know, it's like we were going to have these state requirements of things you're going to have to do, and we've gone out and got this additional 5 million with some funding, and then I'm guessing the interest we charge for the loans is also intended to kind of cover the staff time for it too.
that's how the loan is set up so that you take your interest and use it to staff the program.
So basically, we'll be able to have a more robust energy efficiency program that we are basically going to have to do some more things anyway, and this really adds a lot to it.
And I know Ken's got his hand up. I got a real quick question and we can go to Ken. Getting back to the internal policy and, you know, organizational structure of how this is going to be administrated. I know it refers to the CFO and the treasurer. I know we don't have a controller yet. We have an auditor. Do we know who exactly this requires, which particular positions within the organization that this bond requires their involvement?
It requires Mike's involvement on the bond side with RUS. He'll be I'm the signature, but he takes care of all the reporting and that kind of requirements. The the energy efficiency specialist will report to Gene.
Okay. And Stacy, whenever you get your answer, just you're ready, but we'll just kind of keep working around the edges until you've got your.
Thank you. Sorry, I swear I just read it and now I cannot find it. It was not like the most eloquent language, but the bond purchase contract was, and the form of the bond are both RUS forms, which accounts for why the formatting is not the nicest. And so, sorry, I'm still trying to find it.
Okay. Ken.
Yes, thank you. Question for Joel. We've been advised that the RCWs prohibit are making loans to customers. How does this get around that prohibition?
The loans to customers, you mean without interest? Or just straight out loans? I mean, because the
language 10's talking about, if I remember, it's like kind of lending our credit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So that's an aspect of gift of public funds, and this will not be a gift of public funds because we're going to charge our customers interest on the money. So we get it at 0% interest and pay it back to RUS on a 0% basis. But because there's costs that we're going to incur for the program, as just established through staff costs, other administrative costs, those will be recouped by the district through the interest rate, which we don't have to remit back to RUS. We'll keep and secure that for purposes of paying the cost of the loan. In addition, the loan itself provides $250,000 to the district in order to defray some of the administrative costs as well. So I think with those things in place, we're just fine under the lending of credit because we're really not lending the credit to the district.
I think it's helpful to think too. I think the reason that that don't lend your credit prohibition exists is so that a public agency like us isn't replacing banks, basically, and offering our customers financing when we're really, we're an electric utility. We're supposed to be doing utility things, not lending money to folks willy-nilly. And this program is specifically designed to give money to our customers on a kind of a revolving loan fund. So it's specifically meant to do this. So it's like an exception to lending credit because they've given us the authority to do it and they've given us the money to lend it with. So I don't know.
Well, I guess the other point under the constitutional analysis, there's a whole series of cases out there that essentially say that, look, there's actually no problem for public entities like PUDs to act in a commercial way because we're selling a commercial product. It's acknowledged under state statute and the Constitution. And so we need to be able to demonstrate that that the deal that we're entering into with our customers is more of a commercial type deal. And as long and the courts will not examine the consideration paid. For instance, so let's say someone's going to borrow $50,000 to put new insulated windows on their home. And we lend, I don't know what the program is. I don't know what Jean and her staff or everyone's thinking about the proper interest rate, but let's just assume it's 4% we charge. And for the use of that money to build, to allow someone to, increase the insulation in their home, court won't examine, well, should it be 3% or should it be 5%? It's just the fact that we're going to actually recoup certain funds to assist our customers in putting in these efficiencies in their homes.
So
yeah, go ahead.
By extension, then, if we were to offer people for broadband installation a credit and we charged interest on that, that would also be acceptable?
That would be fine. Or if we, the way we're currently proposing it is that it's, I forget, I'll botch this, but let's say it's $750 connection fee that can be paid over time for our broadband customers outside of the grant zone or who've missed the ability to obtain a grant. There's no problem with that. That does not run afoul. You don't even have to charge, you can just assume the $750 is sufficient to pay for the connection to the customer. And the fact that we do it for 3 years, grant them a 3-year period to pay back, does not run afoul of this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So while we're kind of on this topic of interest and rates, percentage rates and that sort of thing, it'd be good to reiterate that this is going to be an account that's available to all of our customers, not just a low income. I just think we should keep everybody in mind of that as we move along. This is not a low income type of a program. So that's one thing we need to keep in front of this discussion as we move along so that people maybe that listen later understand how this program is going to work. And then I guess one other quick question I have, and maybe we've talked about this in the past, is that are we going to do any kind of a background check on whether people have the ability to repay anything they borrow? How does that process with this particular program work?
So I'll let Jean, I'm just going to interrupt you, Jean, because this is more appropriate for you to answer, but I'm just going to say that I don't recommend that you do that because it gets you closer to be considered, as Commissioner Randall was saying, to be more like a lending institution, and all of a sudden you have federal obligations for companies that are loaning money out to their customers. But I don't know what you were planning, Jean.
We had not planned on running typical credit checks like a bank would. But to be honest, the detail of those credit checks and the documentation that will be taking in, that still needs to be discussed further with Mike and his department and program overall.
Yeah, and
Well, yeah, 12 months.
I don't know if we're going to set a limit as to how much any one individual or business or whatever, are we going to, have we set that? Is it in this document or anything yet? Because I would really be, if we're not going to go down that road, which I understand completely what's being said by legal counsel and staff, is I would hate to see us have a very large amount like that and have that go, you know, unpaid or unrecoverable.
We do have, our CIS system does track payment history. And we have that credit rating to use, our own internal credit history rating. But beyond that, more discussions.
And we will do a presentation to the board, not only outlining qualifications, but what we're allowed to loan for through this program. We applied for certain things, and that's what the program's good to loan through. So in a couple weeks, we'll put together a program that kind of outlines what we can do, and then the board can massage things and we can work it forward.
Get us back on track. Okay. Stacy, did you ever come up with your info?
So I thought I saw it, but I guess I did not. So obviously no origination fee. They can charge administrative costs. I don't know what those are, and something I can definitely talk with the Office of General Counsel if this is passed and we move forward, and I can get those. And maybe there is none. I'm just not sure what those might be. Potentially they were in the original kind of program description when it was applied for, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, nobody here can come up with where there might be an annual fee coming from. So I guess it just might be something to check their staff.
And
We
you
found
know,
out
there's,
wondering about it.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Commissioner.
Go ahead.
There's a Schedule 1, you probably looked at that, Stacy, that lays out, you know, sort of the deal terms, but I took a look through that while we were here, and it does not reference any loan fee, but it doesn't say there isn't a loan fee. So I appreciate your diligence on that, Commissioner Randall. And
I found the needle in the haystack. Well, you
Yeah.
really one up me on your lawyer language about how we can do certain lending. So I guess for staff's perspective, and the lawyers can jump in as necessary. So I'm just imagining, okay, we've got this $5 million. We can draw 200,000 for initial staff costs to get the thing set up. And then we're going to start, you know, using our awesome PR network to let folks know that this program exists. And we're going to have all the application forms, and we're going to be all square on what they can do and what they've got to fill out. And we're going to start doing that. And people are going to start getting these loans, and they'll be applied to, they'll pay them back on their bill, correct? It'll be added to their monthly utility bill. And it'll be the intent and purpose to help reduce their overall energy use. So we'll start seeing the money come back in. And I think I saw that it said that we can't loan out more than half of it in 1 year. I can't remember if I saw that right or not.
That is correct.
No more of a burn rate than like 2.5 million, you know, in the first year or something. So whatever our burn rate is, so we're lending this stuff out, we're starting to get money back. At what point do we have to repay the 5 million, or what are the repayment? Is it over a period of time like our original RUS loan is? How is this going to work?
So you're correct. You can't draw more than 2.5 million in any 12-month period, and that consecutive 12-month period. And then each payment for the advances are payable monthly, the last day of each month. And so that is currently in the form of the note. And again, we'll start with after you make the first draw, the month after you make the first draw.
Okay. And then, so what is the overall term of the bond then? When is all the 5 million paid back to the federal government, or does that ever happen?
It's a 10-year program.
10-year program. Okay. So
you want, I think one nuance here is just how, in the later years of the program, right? You're going to want to shorten up what you relend to your customers.
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering how this works long term. I mean, is the goal that somehow we've self-funded it so that, as you get towards year 10, you've kind of got some money, through your interest and other things. Now it's kind of becoming a self-funded program. And this might be more of a staff question than a legal question.
This program is offered every year, but it's offered every couple years, and people that are using this program every couple years apply for another round of funding. It is getting harder and harder to get this funding as the program gets known. A lot of people are putting in for the funding and being oversubscribed.
Hmm.
So a lot of utilities, I'm going to say every 4 or 5 years, get another 5 million. So they always have some working capital to loan out as they're paying things back. So you don't have this just one and done
Yeah.
type atmosphere.
Yeah.
Our goal is though to bring in a little extra revenue and do some things so that some would be our responsibility for future.
That some could go back into it for future use. Well, it's definitely worth thinking about because once you go to all the effort to set this up and staff it, it would be a bummer to have it go away.
So yeah, I'm going to reiterate the question I asked a little bit earlier, and it kind of ties into what was just asked here. And that is, are we what kind of policy and process type of document or are we going to get in place? Is it going to go on customer service, procurement, financial policy? Where will we go to put this as to how this is going to be administrated?
This is a program unto itself, so there'll be, when we do the little dog and pony show, all that'll be laid out, but it will be a standalone program with a standalone rules and how and what we have to do. Because we not only have to comply with the board says, but there's restrictions by US that we have to follow also.
And then the last part is timeline on that. Any anticipation of staff of how long we're going to take from this point? Assuming we go ahead and ratify the document and the plan here, or what's your timeline? What are we thinking on this?
We thought we would be done 2 years ago, so
Yesterday.
we would hope to have something in place by the first of the year, but that may be optimistic.
Okay. All right. So again, looking at the documents.
Someone's cursor.
Oh, that's Will's cursor.
Okay. So do we have any people online any public comments or questions from anybody? Not seeing any. I'll go back to what we have. So it looks like we have a resolution in front of us that then authorizes and directs the signing of some other documents and agreements that are in here. So am I correct in that the only thing we have to do today is approve the resolution and that everything else will flow from that?
Correct. Once this is approved, again, I will ask the question on any kind of annual fees to Office of General Counsel, but also work with them to get an actual note that is not just a template on this program for the district. And they wanted kind of a soft closing date before they sent us one with your information in.
Okay. All right. Well, I see no public folks wanting to comment or ask questions. Commissioners, what's your pleasure? Do you want to go ahead and approve this today? Where do we go from here?
Well, I guess somewhat legal counsel opinion on, whether or not Stacy, we need to get that information from first or not.
The annual fee?
Yeah, the fee information. I mean, I don't know what kind of timeline we are to, having to get this thing up and running. I know I just heard that we've been at it for a while, but is, another week or two going to matter till our next meeting, or is this something that is critical for today? Two questions there.
So, and I want Stacy to jump in. For us to get the final documents, we need this one approved so that we can go to the next step. At any point though, before we there is a place to jump out if we need.
Probably until we actually draw the funds, we could say, oh, we're out. So what I'm hearing you say, Kevin, is we could go ahead and approve the resolution. There's a bunch of additional steps, and along with that, we could get clarification whether there's an annual fee.
Is that correct, Stacy?
I agree. Yes.
Okay.
So I move that we approve the resolution. I can read it all, but I don't know that that's necessary. I think you know what it refers to. So I'll move for approval of the resolution to authorize the issuance of an electric system revenue bond in the principal amount of not to succeed $5 million to provide funds for loaning qualified customers, et cetera, et cetera.
I'll second the motion. I think that matches what we were presented in the documents.
Yep. So we have a resolution to authorize the PUD to borrow $5 million for the purpose of providing loans for energy efficiency purposes. So any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And thank you very much for all the hard work that went into this. It was like getting a round or square peg and shaving it off and getting it to fit us.
Yeah.
So,
We may have a few more of those square pegs too. so.
yeah, we may have dogs learning new tricks. Well, I think this is great. The utility, the PUD has certainly come a long way in the energy efficiency arena. So we're taking more responsibility for it, and I think that's providing more benefits to our customers.
Yeah, I think this, again, thanks for all the hard work on everybody. I think this is a great thing. Again, the devil will be in the details.
And I want to say thanks to Stacy for stepping in and doing such a, really just a incredibly capable job, standing behind Nancy Narrows, who, represented the district for decades. So it's just really nice to have that continuity in bond counsel.
And I want to add my thanks to Stacy and also our own legal counsel.
Thanks, everybody. And we have lots more work to do on this. All right. So did we have any other business in this special meeting today? All right. We will adjourn and come back at 4 o'clock for our regular business meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.